So it's 6 o'clock
Yeah,
and we'll go ahead and start the meeting. We have a quorum.
the approval of minutes for the March 12th meeting, I didn't have any problems with the minutes in March 12th.
I move we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item is public comment items not on the agenda, so just to make it known, this is for items that do not appear in section 4. So are there any people here for public comment for items not on the agenda? No.
Do not. What's it for? Public comment?
For items that do not appear. So if you have any business that wasn't part of items for discussion, so in section 4, then you could make a comment at this time. So since there's nobody for that, we'll go on to the next item. So section 4, item A, which is the jet out front. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go through a little bit of history from the airport side, and then we'll let any of the commission members also add anything that they want to, and then we'll open it up for comments from the floor.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
Okay, that will continue.
Thank you.
So the history of the jet is it showed up here in around 1953. It got delivered to the Arnold Air Society at the Iowa City Air Force RTC. It was removed by a group in 1977, and then returned to the airport and restored. So it got put back on display at the Iowa City Airport in 1978. And then, so there's been a couple of like vandalizations over the years that were noted in kind of the history document that we have. And then it's been repaired and restored off and on through the years. So there was a first dedication as a war memorial in 1977, as well as in 1972. And then in 1992, so nobody really knew who owned the jet. And then in 1992 is when the Air Force and the city of Iowa City started a loan agreement for the jet. So there's been a couple of discussions over the years about removing or relocating the jet. So I'm not going to go into all the detail for each and every one of them, just to kind of give a brief overview. Kind of see. The most recent, though, is as part of the master plan for the airport, or not the master plan, sorry. The commission was looking at doing a terminal redesign. And so as part of that, it was changing changing the driveway or the entranceway to the airport. So that was the first time, that was 2023. And so items like this would have come up as public comment at that point. The most recent, the impetus for this decision or this kind of discussion was in the fall. Clinton Airport reached out to the Iowa City Airport, since we had it in that terminal building study as changing what we were doing out at the front of the driveway. They were interested in having the jet go to Clinton Airport. And so they reached out to us last summer, late summer, early fall. And then we started kind of going from there. So Mike is the airport manager here. Mike reached out, or he got some contact information for some veteran groups in town. Mike contacted the VFW Post 3949, the University of Iowa Army and Air Force RTC detachments, and the American Legion Post 721. The ROTC detachments did not respond. The American Legion responded that they weren't in a position at the moment to offer assistance with the jet's upkeep. And then the VFW responded that with very good follow-up questions, and also that they were opposed to the jet being relocated. So Mike offered to meet with them. We didn't hear back after that contact. And then in February, we kind of wanted to not leave Clinton hanging. So we asked Mike to send another email to the VFW saying that we would like to discuss this. We're going to plan to discuss it in March, and then we'd like to be able to make a decision in April. So we The VFW responded, so that email went out in February. The VFW responded in March and then attended our March meeting, which was very much appreciated. And then they expressed the same position that they had in the original, which was that they were opposed to relocating Ted. So, and also a willingness to be part of a solution to potentially keep the jet here at our city, which is also appreciated. We haven't heard from the VFW since that meeting. So this is another opportunity for us to hear from them and the community. So what I would like to do now is that we'll kind of open it, or I'll open it to if any commission members have anything to add. And then what we're really interested in and what we've been interested in the whole time is getting feedback from the community. So I think at that point, we'll open up the floor and then we'll have other comments probably as we progress through some of that discussion. So.
I can say a few things. I want everybody here to know that the commission is not anti-veteran and not trying to, impugn the importance of the memorial that the jet represents. We've been concerned that it's deteriorating, that's basically rusting away, and it's not a beautiful object. I don't know that it would necessarily, a lot of us would necessarily consider it to be the best possible memorial to veterans or to those who gave their lives. On the other hand, we want the veterans who are concerned about it to participate. We don't have any budget for this. We inherited the airplane in the 1950s, and the airport has no funds and no personnel to maintain the airplane. So I think that my sense of the way the commission is feeling is that we want to honor veterans. We want to have some kind of memorial. We want to keep it going. It can be the airport. It could be some other plaque that perhaps describes the history of the airplane being there, what it meant, and that sort of thing. But we would like those people who are concerned, and it's great to see you all here, to have some skin in the game. We have to find a way to make this work if we're going to keep the airplane. That's my sense of where we are.
My 2 cents are that I would echo what Warren said. I would also say that as a commission, we've got a fiduciary responsibility to the airport, which is maintaining the budget, making sure that the airport can serve the flying public, whether that's life flights coming in and out of the airport that service the hospital, whether that's general aviation in the community, transient pilots, charter operations, what have you. We have to be able to run an airport first and foremost. Everything else is secondary. We're not a memorial commission, we're an airport commission. If we can't serve the flying public, then it begs the question, what are we doing here? Now, I've got a number of concerns around the price of fuel right now. A sizable portion of the budget for the airport comes from fuel surcharges that are assessed each gallon of fuel that gets pumped here. With the trend in fuel prices, I worry about the possibility that fuel flows will decrease. We'll take a hit in the budget. And then it begs the question, what are we doing spending $10,000 to $15,000 restoring a jet and can't even run the airport? So I'm trying to look at it through a financial lens. It's an expensive thing to maintain. That's part of the reason why we haven't been able to maintain it. Past commissions haven't been able to maintain it. Our budget's obviously public. We're a public entity. We're subject to open records. The budget has been tight for decades. In some cases, it was in really bad shape for a long time. We've obviously come out of that, but we're still on a shoestring budget to run the airport. So I think our mind is in a good place, but we want to solicit community input, because if we don't want to get rid of it, something has to change about how we maintain it, or we're going to end up in here in this exact situation in 10 years, like we have for decades, where the jet is in disrepair. There's a panic moment. We need to do something about it. How do we maintain it? I just want to keep us from having to go through this over and over. So that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else?
They've said it.
Okay. The other thing to note is that there is an agenda packet for each of these meetings, so you can actually go back through all the airport meetings, see the minutes, and also there's documents attached to those. So in this month's meetings agenda packet, there's all the emails that we've had between, or that we sent out in the beginning of this, as well as any public comments that came in between now and in March meeting. So, and then you can also look at the March meeting and see the minutes for that and the agenda package for that as well. So those are on the city website. So in saying that, we'll go ahead and I'll let anybody from the public talk. I will ask, just so, since there are so many people here, if you speak, maybe let somebody else speak until we've kind of exhausted that before coming up and maybe saying something else, just so we can get everybody heard.
Can I have one thing?
Sure.
Besides the agenda, you can actually go in to the city website and you can see the video.
Oh, yeah.
So you can hear exactly what's been talked about.
Yes. Oh, okay.
All right, really quick.
Sorry.
I think in response to some of the things, I'm going to step over here so you can all really see my face. Just want to address some comments real quick. You said you hadn't heard back from the veterans, the VFW. I think you heard back from them here. Sorry,
Yeah.
this
We're
is
talking about
understood.
communication.
Understood. I think you've heard from them tonight and then some. You said that that's not the nicest looking monument. I think it's beautiful. I thought it's beautiful since I was a whole day. You have a fiduciary responsibility. I'm here to ask you something, ask this commission something. I'm going to ask that you stave off your vote for 4 months. So do not vote what you're going to do with this thing for 4 months. Allow me and all of these people here that are this concerned to come up with an opportunity, with a plan, with a course of action, detailed, dedicated, and funds to take this thing over. Potentially a 501(c)(3) that takes this completely out of the Airport Commission's hands, and we just take care of this from here on forward. I know that this has been presented in the past. There's been other groups that have said they'll take care of it and things that will go on. This is obviously means a lot to all of these people. It certainly means a lot to me. I'm not a veteran, but my father is, and both of my grandfathers are, and I will fight to the day I die to make sure that that thing stays here and that it is well maintained and taken care of. I posted a video 2 weeks ago. It's got over 20,000 views about this exact topic. I've spoken to dozens and dozens and dozens of people over the last 2 weeks, business owners, concerned citizens, all willing to donate money to make sure that this thing gets taken care of. Business owners that are willing to take it on pro bono to fix this, to clean it up, to make it look like what it is. We are going to need your help going forward with making sure that the logistics and things like that are taken care of. But I'm here to ask on behalf of all of these people, please do not vote on this tonight to give it to Clinton. Give us an opportunity to prove to you that we can take over this thing and that we can do what's right for it. Please, that's all I ask. And I'm going to ask that you guys, instead of waiting for more public comments, I want to know literally right now, so you guys can go on about your meeting and conduct how you guys want to do things. These people will all gladly get out of your hair if you agree to take that off of the topic of discussion tonight.
We're going to let other people have comments.
That's fine. But what I'm asking you is don't vote on it tonight. Can you all agree? I'm asking you, forget Robert's rules, forget all that stuff. I'm asking you, human to human, Iowa City resident to Iowa City resident, please take that off of your plans for this evening so that we can come up with a plan.
Okay, we're going to let other people have comments. We're not going to make decisions right now when we just open it up for public comments.
Andy, you should identify yourself.
My name is Andy Miller, and I'm willing to head up anything and everything to make this thing happen.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Well, all right. kind of to elaborate on what he was saying. 3949 a few years ago spearheaded the restoration of the Quad 50 machine gun that sat in front of the American Legion in Corrigal. Now, as far as I know, of course, they closed down. That gun is in storage now again. That memorial, not a war memorial, it's a memorial to veterans and their sacrifice one was described as a war memorial. That's not correct. I know for a fact that what he's saying is true because the M55 project, complete restoration of it, was done completely voluntary. Everything was donated to do that project. The paint, the welding, just the whole works. Okay, and that was sponsored by 3949. The next project was going to be the old jet. I had it all set up. Everything was going to be donated. The lifts, the paint, the cleaning stuff. Had a big massive heart attack, and that went out the window. And that was a couple of years ago. So I know that it can be done by a community effort. There's people in this town that will step in and donate that type of stuff. I do have one specific question. Does the airport, I know it's supposed to be the responsibility of whoever has these memorials to maintain them. Does the airport get any tax funds for that purpose?
No, the loans from the National or the Air Force Museum just provide the aircraft. And then it's up to whoever has it to move it, maintain it, restore it.
To whoever has,
Yes.
who has,
Yeah, the airport does.
okay, my question was, it's up to the airport
Mhm.
to take care of it. How come that hasn't occurred?
It has occurred. The airport
It
has.
hasn't been touched for 10 years.
Yes, correct.
Well, okay, so we just read it in the paper the other day. One of the main reasons they wanted to get rid of it was the cost, $10,000 a year. Well, apparently you've saved up $100,000 over the last 10 years to do the work. Okay, so that has not occurred. It should have. And if it had, it'd be sitting out there spiffy and ready to go. However, it can be a community service, a community project to a lot of the veterans organizations. Like he was saying, give us time. Give this community time to organize something like that. Don't jump into having it hauled away to Clinton right away. That's my opinion. So, but if the opportunities are out there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yes, sir.
Lifelong resident of Johnson County, Jeff McDowell. For the record, what was the organization that had the plane removed?
Project Green.
It would be Project Green. I would like to state it in the record that who had that.
It's recorded, so it'll be done.
That was the first thing I want. So a little bit of a rant. My family came here in 1729. We started this country. My family documented starting this country. My relative was the first general of the Battle of Bull Run, Henry McDowell. He was one of my relatives. So I was never a veteran, but from that time on, I've had veterans in my family from then till now. My brother was in Vietnam. My dad was in World War II. So I've looked at this plane since I was a little boy going to the fair. I don't remember if any of you guys remember, but sorry, I'll get a little emotional on this. I remember as a little boy, we'd go to Fountain Falls out here. We were dirt poor. My family was dirt poor. Things we did, we went out to Fountain Falls and looked at the peacocks and the fish. It's one thing we got to do. Once in a while, we get to go down to the Dairy Queen down there and have ice cream. We go to the city park and ride on Grollinger's rides, get a couple rides, and sit on the 1928 LaFrance fire truck down and play on that. And we go to the zoo till that was ruined, and then the zoo moved out, which is down there still. Or then maybe we get to go to Henry's to have a hammer around Florida. So I hear the crowd, they all did it. This is what these people did. But I remember one of the things, most of all, was driving by that airplane when I was a kid. And it just, you thought about being a spaceman or whatever it was, flying, being in airports. So I love this plane. I was here the last time that plane was cleaned. It was cleaned by volunteers. I met the gentleman who flew it, and he had a big old Lincoln car on his flight jacket. He was pretty old at the time. I don't remember his name, who it was, but I remember talking to him and how proud he was that he flew that plane into this place. And so I guess I'm just asking you guys, as Andy asked you, can you please delay this? I know some of you don't like the thing. I know this community, maybe I better just stop with that. So what I guess what I'm saying is if you could delay in 2 days, yesterday, the day before, I've got 2 major corporations that will donate to this project. I've gone to numerous organizations yesterday and asked them for help. They said they would if it came to scaffolding, if it came to power washers, if it came to that. I have that. I've got $3,000 from various people just in 2 days. And I'm really a nobody in this community. I just went to some people I knew. I just got a commitment from another guy today. I made a phone call and he said, whatever you need, just let me know tonight, or tomorrow or tonight when they get up. And so I think we got the people in this room that will take care of that thing. And as Andy said, if we can put together a commission of our own, take care of the thing, it'll be out of your hands. You won't have to worry about it. You'll have to look at it. I'm sorry you have to look at it, but you'll have to look at it. When you
Make it look nice and I will like it.
I don't think anybody.
I want you to know I'm a pilot, okay? And I was in the Air Force, and I love jets.
Thank you for your service, sir.
And thank you, but don't get me wrong, I don't hate the airplane. I hate the way it looks. It's deteriorating.
Well, you got the people right here in this room that's going to take care of that for you.
If I hadn't had a heart attack,
Problem
and been
solved.
boosted up and looking good.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Good evening, Bob Dane here, and to follow up on what Andy said, I think what we in the room would like to see would be a verbal commitment, vote or otherwise, that the airport commission is truly interested in having a veterans memorial here on the airport grounds. And that it fits into what you're planning for the future as you remodel the terminal and other facilities around the ground. And then once you've made that commitment, a lot of these people will be very satisfied. Then you need to challenge us to give you the funds and the resources with a timeline or otherwise that we need to meet. If we meet it, fine. Otherwise, it goes back to your plate. But just to know that the airport commission is interested in having a veterans memorial on the property as it has been for years and years would take this group a long ways to the next step of going out and getting the funding. We don't know what it'd take to refurbish it at this point in time, but just the fact that if you want the memorial here, you just need help getting it fixed. And if you could commit to that much, whether you go 4 months like Andy said, or whatever timeline you come up with, as a representative myself and the Johnson County Military Affairs Committee, we've got some money set aside from previous adventures that I talked to the board and we can commit to the refurbishment project. So that's, I think, everybody is going to have anecdotes and stories to tell about how much it means to them. But you cut to the chase, but if the commission will say, yeah, we want it, and we'll figure out how we get down the road.
Yes, sir.
My name is Howard Horan, and I was on the airport commission that hired Mike, as a matter of fact. And I think he has done an absolute awesome job, for the record. I would like you to help us in our plans. Give us some idea of what you would like to do with the entrance. That might have to do with where we end up putting the airplane. We don't need to be in your way. You guys want to take out your treaties and move the airplane? Why not? And I'd also like the serial number of the airplane. Mike.
I'm not sure I have that handy, but.
Yes, you do. No, you don't have it handy, but you got it.
I can get it, John.
53750.
What?
53750.
0750.
You can say that again.
So, the document that we have that we had somebody put together in 2022 has it listed as 53750. So if it's not that, I'm sorry, but that's what we have listed. So, was there anybody else who want to make a comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hey, last time I was here, I was Amelia Earhart, and and Mike is such a great guy to work with. The community's interested in the aviation history, not just airport history, but aviation history. And I come representing kind of a personal story. I am the daughter of a veteran. I have worked a lot with the local National Guard over the years with family support services, but I'm the historian for Lucas Farms neighborhood, and I document all of the veterans. I have hundreds of veterans. I was astonished myself how many veterans are in this community. But I came across one story a long time ago about a Korean War veteran, and his name is Joseph Martinez. And he married Maria Canto, who grew up in a boxcar at the Mexican barrio that's now Oak Grove Park. And when she grew up, she married Joseph. He went off to the Korean War. He was injured multiple times. He is the only one out of his unit of 13 that survived, and he was awarded the Purple Heart. We probably, so far, I've probably found 10, 15 Purple Hearts just in our neighborhood. But what I think, this is a great opportunity to keep telling stories. And I know that maybe in Iowa City, the idea of a military plane might not have appeal to everyone, but it has appeal to a lot of people, and it's still a story that needs to be told. So I just want to give my support and shout out to that, and pretty impressed all these veterans that are here.
Thank you. Yes,
And your name is?
I'm Judy Nyron,
Right, okay.
and Thomas, we're history local. There's a few other historians here.
I've talked to you before, actually.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can.
I have a more of an informational question than stories, but Diane Baker is the name. I do not know what you're mentioning the budget cost of this, and I don't have the background. I'm sorry, I didn't read your past notes, but what is the cost of the plane maintenance, or why does it cost $10,000 a year or whatever that figure is? What does that go for? Is it insurance? It doesn't look like it's for maintenance. What is it for? Is it for? I'm just interested in the actual cost of it.
Yeah. So we actually, what we have in I'm trying to get to it, so I'm not looking at you. I'm trying to scroll through here. In the packet, the agenda packet for this meeting, so this is April 9th, 26th, there's a proposal from the company or a sister company that did the refurbishment in 2015. So they outlined kind of for what they would do for the jet and then the costs associated with that. So sorry, I'm kind of scroll through quite a bit. So yeah, I got it. Yeah, thank you. So basically the proposal that the company sent that's current for this meeting shows like we had it polished as last time in 2015. So their polish cost is $9,000. And then paint would be at this point they're talking about vinyl in the packet, but they painted it last time. So that was like $1,000 to $1,500. And then there's some other costs for like equipment, so boom lifts and stuff to get to the airplane, which is a couple $1,000s, and then lodging and meals. So it's for total cost, it ranges from like 12 to 15 to the current quote that we have from the company. So it varies. There's different ways to do these sorts of things. In 2015, we had it polished. And then the quote from the company this time has another option, which is painting the aluminum, which for aluminum, it helps because once it's painted, it's easier to maintain versus polishing. So does that help answer?
I didn't quite know where you were getting that.
Sure.
If it was the yearly cost or if it was just a one time, it sounds like the project cost.
Yeah. And that one's harder to nail down because with it being that 12 to 15,000, it's not something that the airport has looked into each year. So it ends up the kind of refurbishment of it seems to happen once a decade. And it keeps getting polished. So it's been polished for its lifetime. And so that the polish polished aluminum, aluminum oxidizes. And so when you polish it, you're basically taking away some of the aluminum to make it shiny. And then that finish degrades fairly quickly. So then that's why it looks like you can do it every 6 months and it still would be hard to maintain like this mirror finish. So that's why it's kind of like, well, it happened 10 years ago for perpetuity, right? Like it's 5 or 10 years. If you look back in the history of when people touch it, it's like 10 years or so, 5 to 10 years.
Your expense is just a project for a temporary project expense.
Because of the cost.
Yeah.
Because if we said, hey, we want you to polish the whole airplane, it would be $12,000 or $15,000 a year. But the airport says, okay, well, we know that a polish, or not the airports, but if you polish aluminum, you kind of understand that it's not going to stay that pretty all the time unless you always polish it. So it's a return on investment type of thing to where we could polish it every year, but after that year went by, the state of the polished aluminum would look similar to what it looks like now.
And eventually you have holes in the.
Yeah, and you have holes. Every time you polish it, you remove material from the metal. Because it's an abrasive process.
Yeah, that explains,
Yes.
I couldn't put those two together, wondering how you
Yeah.
were deriving your particular.
Yeah, we derived a quote, we requested a quote from the same company that did it last time, and we have that prepared for this one. No, and it requires a bit of a special touch. It's not like a car, it's not like, something else. It's an actual aircraft, right? So it requires a special skill set, and it requires having done that kind of work before. So we can't all just get on ladders with Armor All and polish it. So it's just that it's a specialty work. So they're certainly, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We didn't put out an RFP or anything.
And this quote was for information, right? Like it's something that we obtained because we are familiar with the company. They worked on this actual jet before. So it's familiar to both parties, and it gave us a number that way we could discuss it with folks like yourself. Yeah. You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Arden Spoda. Has there been any attempts to maybe write a grant? See if maybe there's some way that we could get money provided to us through the infinite amount of cash that the US government seems to hold back every year. That's for sure. But the bottom line is, grants. And then the other question is, if you do decide to get rid of it, do you have a home for it? Do you have another home for it? Because obviously, Wright Patterson's going to have a few questions if you just decide to junk it again, I would think.
Yeah, so we're not allowed to just junk it. The Air Force we have a contract that whoever's the chair signs it every year, saying that we still have it, we're still, we know where it is. And so we can't just move it, even if there were to be a decision to move it. It's more of an investigation to move it because the Air Force can say, no, we don't really want it to go. The Air Force doesn't pay for anything, but the Air Force could decide that, hey, we think it should stay there, or we don't want it to go anywhere. So they're the ones who we would ask. So it's not like we go and say, hey, we want to move it, we move it, and then we're like, well, y'all figure out what you want to do later. There's a process. And so this is kind of the decision point that's happening, or kind of bringing all this up, is that exploratory, like, hey, we have Clinton Airport who said that they would like it, they would take it if we wanted to relocate it. And so we say, okay, well, we start reaching out to people and talk to people. And then we make a decision to say, hey, Mike, can you please go out and start talking to the Air Force? And then there's so many more layers to the relocating it than just like us sitting here and saying yes. Like a flatbed doesn't show up right afterwards. So that's the grant question. We haven't applied for grants. There's a lot of work that we do with grants for the airport. and to maintain the infrastructure at the airport. So that's where a lot of the grant work that we have going on is.
So it's one area that you haven't explored is what I'm hearing.
Yes, yeah.
Right, okay.
Was there anybody else? I had some comments at the end, yeah.
Yeah, Brad McGowan, I'm a Johnson County Vietnam era vet. Just a few things about the jet. We've got something out there that's pretty special. Now, they built approximately 9,800 of them. And out of that 9,800, there's only 22 that are airworthy. There's only about 100 in the United States that are on a static display. This particular model, there's only 44 of them. So there's not even enough of these around to go for each state to get one. So we got something special here. And what makes it particularly special, it was transferred to the University of Iowa in 1963. So it's been in this area for 63 years. The aircraft itself was built in 1953. I think I'm a memorial nut. I am. I was responsible for getting the Johnson County Vietnam Veterans Memorial placed up there at that courthouse. So I'm a veteran, and I think memorials are important. And when I look out there, well, I might see a jet that doesn't look the best, but I see a memorial first. And that's really important. That was dedicated publicly at least 2 times in the last 50 years. So it's important. So it's sad that as veterans, we have to come here and, worry about our memorial being traded off to another city. I appreciate your lack of funds, and I appreciate your comments. We're here tonight to tell you that we're willing to do whatever it takes to fund that aircraft, keep that memorial here in Iowa City, because it's very important to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes. My name is Wayne Usual. When I was singing professionally in New York, I got asked to go over to Greenwich, Connecticut. They had a memorial for the first pilot that died in U.S. history in World War I that had been just in total disrepair. And I sang when they took the cover off and it had been restored. And I just think, when I talk to young people, they couldn't tell you when the Korean War was. They'd say Korean War. They don't know if Vietnam War was before World War II or after World War II. And I just think once these things are gone from here, it's just another step in forgetting our history. So that was just such a neat experience singing at this dedication, sang the Air Force song, and had a nice crowd. And it was just a beautiful how they had fixed this thing up. So that's just like.
Thank you. Was there anybody else? Yes, sir.
I think, everything that's been said. I was full-time with the Iowa National Guard right down the street. And that memorial is substantial to the Air and Army National Guard. I know that I could get 40 people to maintain that plane throughout the year. From the full-time side. Once we got it restored and to maintain that restoration where it wouldn't have to be every year or every 5 years. So my name is Richard Coons, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Guy Kennedy, lifetime resident. Lived in Charles City for a while. They had a 1915 steam tractor up there. They put in a glass box to keep the weather and stuff out of it. It lasted for years under that box because the weather couldn't get to it. Could you do that to this? Could you put a cover over it somehow to keep some of the weather off of it, to keep it sun beating on it?
Yeah, that's something to consider.
To help maintain it longer.
Yeah.
In response to that, if I might, when we did the M55 project in Corville, the machine guns, APP paints here in Iowa City are great. They're both, the people that own it are all Air Force vets, retired. They own that paint store now. They have repeatedly donated paints, good quality stuff, obviously, to these projects. one of the things we discussed when we did that project was the sealant. They were ready to donate all the paint for the jet out there, including a sealant for the aluminum. So that is an option. Once you get it clean, they put a clear coat sealant, which lasts for years before it starts to reoxidize. Now, I mean, there are options, and there are people around this town willing to do stuff, willing to donate time, materials. They're out there. I think it kind of goes back to having the time to do it again.
Yeah, thank you.
That's why we don't want you to vote and make a rash judgment,
But just
and have it all the way.
just to be clear, it's like Ryan said, even if we wanted to vote tonight, which we don't, because there's nothing actionable here, right? We have to get permission from the Air Force. It is their asset. They must be on board with it, and we have to get approval to move it. And that isn't going to happen tonight. As I understand it, the person that we would even talk to at the Air Force has changed over, so they don't have any of the history of the jet anyway. So we have to get them up to speed. And then on top of that, once we did that, then it would be a long process. So we're not voting on, I think it's fair to say, we're not voting on whether or not to keep it or not tonight. It was just, we wanted to solicit community input.
Yeah. What might be a time frame before you are looking to vote on?
So I guess that's a good, was there anybody who had any comments? I mean, I would love to hear from anybody who wants to talk, but if there's anybody who wants to say something, yes, sir.
I'd say just a couple of things. First of all, to me, the reason you keep something like this around is for history. I mean, it's purely an artifact of history, and there's really some great history with this thing. It's an interceptor. Pure and simple. It's not a regular F-86 like you think of, fighting with MiGs and everything. This was an interceptor. And it was developed to intercept Russian bombers at night in the clouds. And that's really hard to do. And I spent 3 years in the Air Force doing that as a ground intercept director. And we would do it with, you could do it with manual plotting the thing on the radar, or you could do it with the computer. And the first chance to do it with the computer was with the F-86L. And the Air Force built these airplanes as F-86Ds, converted them to F-86Ls so they could work with the SAGE air defense system. And that's what we were working with when I was in it in 1962 with F-106s and F-101s, supersonic fighters. But this is the one that started at the F-86L. It was the first one ever done. And it linked, a pilot could get in that thing, a guard pilot could get into that thing and get commands from the computer and fly the intercept without talking to me. That was an amazing achievement. And so for me, it brings back good memories. It gives me a chance to tell my 60-year-old kids what happened. One more thing I'd say, I was a kid that paid attention to current events in school. And that was in about middle 50s. I was in school. And current events were a big deal then because war was something that could come down on you. We actually thought about getting bombed. I was in Davenport at the time, and Rock Island Arsenal was going to be a target, and that was on my mind. And it's different today. War is easy. War is $5 or $1 at the gas tank or some number like that. But war shouldn't be that way. And this airplane brings back history to me. It gives me a chance to talk to my kids about it. So I think you really ought to try hard and keep it. And to me, the idea of $10,000 one way or another is nothing. And you should paint it. Paint it. I built airplanes. I built 2 of them. I still fly them. I flew them until I was 80. I flew them up here to Iowa City a lot from the Quad Cities and paint it. Just put a coat of paint on it, and if somebody will do that for $20,000, you're getting a really good thing that'll keep something in the community for years. You maybe wash it once in a while, but we're able to do that.
Yeah, something real quick. My name is John Greenwood. I'm a 20-year Navy Vietnam veteran. Memorials to us mean something. coming home from Nam, we didn't get ticker tape. I remember going into the airport, the first place you go is the bathroom to get out of your uniform so you wouldn't get trashed. So this means something to us. You send it out of here. All you're doing is acting like another bureaucracy and pulling the rug out from under us vets. Because that means we're too much trouble to try to raise money to maintain. All you gotta do is ask. We will set up a 501. He's got $3,000. I'll write him a check tonight for $5,000. So that stays.
I just want to comment. I'm Steve Beller, and I'm a member of the VFW Iowa City 3949. I was here at the last meeting, and I was left with the impression that I didn't care too much for this commission. I've changed that opinion. You guys are doing a good job tonight. I hope you appreciate the effort we have made to make our argument clear and present, that it should stay here, and we'll do everything within our power, as my son Andrew said, to maintain it and keep it here forever. Thank you for any kindness you can show us by giving us the time to do what we need to do. Thank
you. My name's Dan Wilson. I grew up here. First of all, just to help this kind of clarify your position and alleviate a lot of the speculation that might be going on, the discussion about this going away. There's no financial gain to be gained by the airport. So Clinton isn't offering X $1,000. You guys don't have anything to gain. You're just looking to stop the hemorrhaging of your
Clinton. I'm sorry, Mary. Yeah, exactly. So when Clinton approached us, they approached us and said they were willing to pay for transport and that they had a plan to restore the aircraft. Okay. So from our perspective, that was sort of the best scenario, absent cash to restore it, right? The jet, ignore the history of how it got chopped up and brought back and whatever. We weren't responsible for that. I wouldn't have done that today. But the fact that it could be transported whole or disassembled and reassembled, restored, and net zero. No aircraft was lost, no memorial was lost, it was just relocated. And financially, the airport didn't have to maintain that anymore, was seen as kind of a win. Sure. Clinton isn't far, it's not close either, but it was staying at least in the state, and that appealed to me. It seemed like a really good opportunity to explore. So yeah, to your point, the airport's not getting anything back from Clinton. This is simply a proposal of a transfer of assets.
And I wanted you guys to have the opportunity to alleviate the fears of a lot of people who only heard it's a money issue.
Yeah.
But we wanted it to go away. We wanted to make sure there's no bad reasons for getting rid of it. And I think you're doing a good job of explaining the good reasons for why it's kind of problematic for you. And I can appreciate that. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna say, the other point would be that for every one of us that showed up tonight, there's got to be 500 to 1,000 in this community who share our sentiments and our opinions and our feelings about this. So to help you gauge, it's not just a group of under 100 people that gave a damn. There's tens of thousands in the county that this means a lot to personally, and a lot that have moved in since it was here that, really don't have any skin in the game on it the way a lot of us do. My father, Chug Wilson, trained in that plane, that type of plane, the D, in 1953. And he flew that in his Air Force career. And to your point, that is an interceptor. That's one of the points I was going to make. In the 70s, when one of the vandals, when one of the vandals vandalized it, he was under the false impression that this thing had been in Vietnam and dropped napalm on children in villages, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to make it known and a public record that this is an interceptor plane. It's not the same as the F-86 Sabres that were fighter jets or used as fighter bombers even. But this one was conceived for the sole purpose of defending the United States against bombers coming in from the Soviet Union over the Bering Straits in all weather, zero visibility conditions. We didn't have the technology. This had one of the very first radar systems on an airplane. It was so incredibly primitive, it would be like us playing Pong. You know, Dad's tried with his wife to try to zero in on something. These things didn't have machine guns. They just had a pod of unguided missiles. It would be, you had to get close enough to a plane in no visibility and just shoot a shotgun blast of these unguided rockets and hope you hit your opponent. That was all that stood between us and the Russian bombers coming over to bomb us. This plane was only a defensive type of weapon. And for the people who can't stomach a war weapon as a memorial, at least for them to understand this was a defensive weapon. This wasn't an offensive weapon. I think that's important to be said and speaks to the character of what this plane stands for. So I wanted that to be known by everyone.
Could I say two more things?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I talked to the Clinton Airport manager, and they shouldn't be regarded as a villain in this in any way. They're perfectly, there's no pressure from them. They're looking for a static airplane that they can park out there. And this might be a good one. So, and they don't have a big, they're not well up with trying to do anything. The other thing I would say is that it's a miracle for people that are interested in technology, how quickly that went. But this airplane came to Iowa City in like 1956 or 50, maybe 58. And it was here only 2 years. And in 2 years, they phased them out and moved on to F-102. I mean, it was just so quick, the technology went. It's just mind-boggling. In 1962, the superior leader, I was up in Elbridge Air Force Base doing the miracle things with F-106s. They had new Mach 1.5 and it's just incredible what was happening in those years.
Yeah, I think probably now's a good time. So what I was kind of wanting to go through now is, so we do have sort of an idea or something that, at least for me, is a way to move forward. I think another reason for discussions like these is that the airport and the city have been plagued with trying to figure out what to do with this every 10 years since it got here. Like the kids from the ROTC detachment fixed it up 10 years after it got here, and we've kind of been doing it like that ever since. So one of the big things that the airport needs is we need to have, if we're going to keep it here and we're going to maintain it, we need to make a formal agreement. We can all appreciate individuals willing to put forth time and effort, but it's hard to have a long-standing agreement with an individual because either they can't do it next year or they don't want to do it, or just people forget about whoever said they were going to do it. So what would be very helpful is, so the VFW Post 3949 was the one that came out. And so that's the group that we have deployed to at the moment as discussing this bit. And that discussion revolves probably around, or the airport would like that discussion to revolve around creating a letter of agreement if the aircraft was going to stay here. And that would give us, in crafting that letter, that would give us the chance to sit down. So some members of the airport commission, it wouldn't be all, and then some members of the VFW Post, and I'm using the VFW Post as just somebody to say as a group, right? Like if the VFW is like, we don't want to do that, then we have to find another group. But we need a group that's established and not just a group of folks that are unnamed or unincorporated, just because we need to be able to point to somebody in 20 years or 25 years. So that's kind of the layout that we would need in order to not have to always come up against this, to where the airport says, hey, we have an opportunity where we don't have to spend the money out of the airport budget to maintain this. And then it creates a lot of discussion points that are kind of alongside that train of thought, but not really what the airport's goal was, which was we're not trying to just get rid of it. There's opportunities for us, and then we can find savings to help keep running the airport. So the letter of agreement, I think, is what we would really like to see. It would, like I said, it'd have to be with a group, and we discussed that. I think in our minds, it would be the VFW post. They're the ones who reached out to the initial email that Mike sent to a group of folks, and they were opposed to it. And then y'all attended the meeting in March, so that's also another vote of confidence that they're interested. And so within that, we would kind of craft what terms there would be. So that would be like who takes care, who finances it, what does the involvement of each party mean. Really another key point for us is that we would want to see it maintained by professionals. And that's not to say that professionals don't exist in the community that then act as individuals. It's just that if the airport all of a sudden instructs people to go out and work on the airplane and then they hurt themselves, then we end up in a whole nother situation. So there's these terms that we need to agree on and discuss that would allow us to have a clear path of the jet staying here, and then also what its future is, because nothing in the past has ever really done anything future looking. It's always been, we need to fix it. So you fix it, and then, it's not anybody's problem until 10 years go by. So that's what would be something that we will solve. We're trying to solve problems here, and that's a solution. I think, at least for me, so I don't speak for the whole committee, my thought was that we would do this within 90 days. So we started this discussion in October. We continued it in February and March, and now it's April. And I just don't want to keep, if we give it 4 months, it'll take 4 months. If we give it 6 months, it'll take 6 months. If we give it 3 months, it can happen in 3 months, and then we'll be done. So that's sort of where I'm at. I think it's the direction that folks on the commission would probably agree with it too as well, but I can let them speak to sort of what their thoughts on it are. So I'll let them do that before we kind of branch out too much, because we want to keep it fairly focused, I guess. So I'll let the commission members.
When's your next meeting?
Our meetings are set at each meeting. So we'll set the meeting for the next meeting tonight, and on the agenda packet, it has a proposed or a tentative next date. It revolves around us being able to meet quorum. So I'm trying to get to it. May 14th is a proposed date.
What date?
May 14th. So if you're really interested in hearing about our pavement and wildlife projects, if you stick around to the end, we'll agree on that date. But so yeah, I'll let the commission members, if anybody has any comments, and then we'll kind of.
So if the VFW would like to take the lead, accepts the challenge of taking the lead, if they came on May 14th with a rough draft of a proposal of shared responsibilities,
so
both the leadership and finance, that would be something you could look at and appreciate.
All right. So what would be excellent is if we can do that in between meetings.
Okay.
Things get held up if we wait till a meeting, because then it's just like so all of us can't be in a room together and discuss airport business.
So
but two of us
you can pass around ahead of the 14th.
Yeah. So if we say, hey, maybe it's not going to happen tonight, but if we say the VFW or somebody says they'll agree to meet, then we'll say, okay, there's going to be some members, 2 people from the commission, and we'll work with whoever the point of contact is to find a meeting, and then we can discuss. So that allows us to work on this kind of stuff in between. And then when meetings come, meetings are where we can vote on things and make things official. So it's best to keep that sort of thing, or these informal, coming up with an idea or terms, or kind of going through the finer points, to these working groups, or not working groups, but to these discussions where we're not involving the entire commission. So,
Someplace to go.
yes, sir.
My name's Tom Schubert. I like Andy's idea. If you need a particular entity to be responsible for the plane, why not a 501c3 and with their own budget and their own personnel and be responsible for the bill. So we don't have to don't have to put the BFW on the spot necessarily. We could form a 501c3.
Let's thank the commission and Mike and get out of their hair. We can do all of that. They don't have to know anything about it. We can do it all.
So I want to say one thing about the 501c3, which is that it still ultimately needs to have people responsible for it. The 501c3 can rot and disappear, right?
Yeah.
What we want to do, I can't speak for the commission. What I want to do is I want to establish a formal agreement with somebody who has signatory authority for a group to sign an agreement with the airport where we enter into a pact on how we maintain that jet. Ultimately, we run into the same problem that we run into with Clinton. We can't transfer the jet to anybody unless the Air Force says we can. So it has to be ours because that's where it lands. So ultimately, we're still responsible for it, but we want to enter into an agreement with a group that will have some longevity, that will have an ultimately responsible party. And then we can work out the details. Personally, I would love to see where there's shared financial responsibility for it. I don't want the airport completely off the hook for the jet that's going to stay here. I would like to have the airport have some skin in the game from a budgetary perspective. But I've heard a lot of really good proposals about trying to get people from the community to donate things and whatever. As long as we can work with a reputable contractor who's bonded and insured so that we know that none of us are getting sued if they fall off the jet, then great. And we can work with that contractor to work with some of these subcontractors that may be able to donate materials. But I really want to harp on the fact that if we just have this loose confederation of independent contractors coming together, which is all that we all are, if we do that, we may still end up in the same situation in 10 years. And I would really like, if we're going to keep the jet here, I would really like to see it be here for 50 years and look good for 50 years. I don't want it to look good for 10 years and for us to end up in the exact same situation again. And I'm pretty sure that everyone here would agree we'd like it to look good for the duration it's here.
Yeah. The problem with that is most of us veterans here in this room aren't going to be around. And so
neither will I.
And so how are you going to find an entity that's going to be around for that long?
We will make it happen.
In the 50.
We are determined. We will make it happen.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I'm with you, but in a standpoint where it all buckles down to the rubber on the road, you're looking for finances you're going to need finances on the bottom line. You're going to need finances to maintain the jet.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're looking at. You're not looking because the finances will fund the maintenance of the plane.
Yeah.
And so I don't understand why a 503 wouldn't suffice what you're looking at.
Yeah, and we could not. I will also point out that we do have a fund that the airport set up to fundraise that we use to fund the mural on the hangars out on the front. So as you drove by the airport entrance, we came from the north side, you probably saw the mural on the hangars on the left, on the right side. We collected donations. We did some fundraising. People donated to a fund that was controlled by the airport that then we can use for these types of things. We do have the mechanism for collecting funds. And maybe the letter of agreement is just that, we work together to fundraise and fund the future of the jet. And then there's a pot of money that we can pull from to restore it every so often. I don't know what it looks like, but I'm throwing out ideas that I want something a little bit more concrete.
And give the veterans a voice in how we do it, and how it's painted. Is it painted in that Air National Guard livery? There's that kind of. The other thing that I'd like to say is, although there's a lot of talk, I realize this is a veterans memorial. There isn't a plaque out there that says that.
Yes, there is.
Is there?
It's in the. It's not part of it's buried in the dirt.
It's in the dirt.
Part of it's buried in the dirt. I'll show you a picture. Have you ever walked up and looked at it?
I've never walked right out
there any weight walking out there to it because it's kind of like out in the middle
It's right in front of it. It's in front of the gym. Right in front of it.
Already got that taken care of. We already got it moving for one.
I, longtime resident, whole family's veterans, Korean, World War II, freaking Afghanistan, Iran. Where else?
Our daughter.
Yeah, our daughter was over in Bagram Air Force Base twice, got blowed off a plane. Anyway, she was on the wing putting a new antenna on it. But this city, and is there anybody from the city here? Anybody?
What city?
I was in your city. I've been all my life. I mean, the people that's voting, the supervisors, representatives, does anybody in Iowa City on the city council give a crap?
We can make that happen too.
Well, I'm just saying, if it was a bicycle issue, they put 2 sidewalks in from Iowa City to North Country, $350,000. They bought 7 buses down there for $1 million.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that comments, but we need to go ahead and if
I'm just, okay, so nobody from Iowa City's here, anybody from the county, their taxes.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
You know,
I appreciate it.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But in the bigger picture, and just you.
I appreciate that.
And I understand they cut your budget every year, but we come up with a fund to do stupid shit in this county.
We're gonna go to the next item on the agenda, so airport construction project over there, but not.
Thank you guys for all showing up. Thank you. Let them carry on that meeting.
Thank you to the commission. Thank you for listening. We got the opportunity.
Thank you.
You like talking to me about
I'm talking about that. What they need is,
Thank you for
Yeah, and you need to have deliberation. That's what it's all about. Thank you for. Yeah, that was very nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All came off the
I think we ended like I was saying, I would like to we got some last week and we'll great guy. But that was really the position that we were at.
Everybody's actually airplanes though.
Yeah, we're gonna continue on with the.
So guys, you want to look at the flag, it's only been since 1980, a lot of the year I graduated. But you're going to have a I'm just saying, go take a look around this place. The big Disney.
I get a donation to that.
Take a look around.
Are you gonna manage the first year?
I love the idea of not letting you.
So what zone are you in?
I'm not offended. I have lots of friends. We don't have standing in an organization. You don't stand under the same umbrella, so. Something. Everything that you guys are. But little people stand under that. So I would like to be a response to that instead of saying, well, we're gotta be a group. Or an individual, because like the point that I make, no individual is gonna be 50, everything changes. But a group like that, in the interest of this, there will be a constant churning of people coming in that group. So that's what, yeah, and right, so appreciate the problems you have to deal with.
For sure. Yeah. And maybe that BMW could.
Well, yes.
I don't know how powerful work.
Because the VFW is an entity that has existed for a while.
Yes.
The people have moved on,
Yes.
whatever, right?
Yes.
The organization is there, and that's what we're doing.
But depending on who's running, who's in what position at that time, in the future. We don't know if they're gonna stay, people have help, but no. That's why I said something was sure umbrella and they're standing up.
I've never seen it before. Fruit Loops and oatmeal.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe that could be a. Maybe we that organizer.
I'll take one more. Okay, thank you.
You don't know this is a lot of association stuff? Hey,
Well, what is that, what I told Mike was, you guys with all this isn't even close to our longest meeting.
Okay, now I think can.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Unpro 1230 threshold relocation.
Threshold relocation, we got some good news, well, partially good news, we're still waiting for the reels, but they do have a ship date in June. So.
How long has this been going on?
Since last.
Yeah, I don't even know, it'll be at least a year. So that's.
So they've gotten past all the certifications.
Gotten past the certification, they're getting manufactured, and like I said, that ship date in June. The pavement maintenance, on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the chairperson to accept the grant offer. We did get the grant offer in the email today. We have a couple of issues that need to be corrected with it in terms of the signing and how they labeled the acceptance section. Because I am not the airport sponsor.
Commission?
The city. And I think Jennifer and I have both looked at the agreement, and outside of a couple of things that are just unique to this administration, there's nothing that like we can't comply with. So once the acceptance session issue is taken care of, Ryan can sign it, Warren can sign it, or like Jennifer will sign it. And
So we can still have the resolution.
yeah, you can still authorize the chair to sign it and execute the agreement. And yeah, as part of the resolution, it's on advice and consent to council. So
who did the email end up getting sent to?
Ryan and Warren.
Oh, good.
So it's in your guys. Yeah, it's in your guys' inboxes at the moment.
I move that we consider a resolution authorizing the chairperson to accept the FAA grant.
Okay.
Roll call, so Trevin.
Aye.
Judy.
Aye.
Warren. Aye. Chris. Aye. Ryan. Aye. Yeah. The wildlife mitigation study.
Nothing new with that. It's still going on.
And that's the scheduled completion date?
Sometime in June. I don't know specifically.
I saw some pheasants going across by the golf course. I've never seen pheasants in this area. We have something new.
You'll be surprised.
Airport operation, good.
Budget, Chris kind of alluded to it in his comments with the jet, but we are looking at, and I've talked with Matt on just
the geopolitical garbage that's going on and the gas price increases.
Yeah.
So far, our activity levels haven't changed. Like we are doing just fine with fuel flowage and activity levels. Will that be the same in 6 months if everything stays the same? I don't know, but probably not. So just being aware of what's out there. With our increase of flowage fees, we're now getting about $75,000 in flowage fees and giving you. So 10% of that, 7,500 if that's the drop. I don't expect a 10% drop, but
Fuel's going down.
yeah. Well, for now.
For next week.
Yeah.
Until he chooses his next target.
Right.
But the other thing that's going on with budget is I am struggling to get people to rent hangars building A. That is A is our building with the manual chain and pulley doors.
Right.
So it's the cheapest set of hangars. But I am struggling. We have 3 open over there right now.
You and I talked about that a little bit. Do you have a sense of why people are turning them down? Is it because they're old? Is it because the market thinks we're charging too much for what they are? What do you think?
The couple a couple have outright because the physicality of trying to open that door. They are heavy. They are. So a couple of them just with the physicality of opening the door, they couldn't think they didn't think they would be able to manage long term. I haven't got the sense that pricing is like a super specific part of it, but it's 176 to rent those hangars, and you can still find hangars around the area for cheaper.
Cedar Rapids, you can get electric door for 115.
Yeah, that sounds
150.
Yeah. If I didn't have to do the side of ad and drive up there.
Where's that?
You have to drive. Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, there's a couple of thoughts. Chris had talked to me earlier the week, and it's if some of these other hangars where our hangar queens are, could we move them into A and maybe make the other hangars that are more attractive? That would be something we could pursue. Just trying to maintain a full.
So it's not hard to open if you don't open it.
That's just yes.
You're a natural citizen.
Oh yes,
I don't know why you've done so well.
Words of wisdom.
And they are actually, I mean, they're terrible doors, but they are the only doors that I know of in the airport that we have not had to maintain.
Yeah, that's also true.
They always work.
So it turns out,
Turns out when the airport loses power, they still work.
They still work.
So I feel like this warrants a bit of discussion. Like what would you propose we do about this? Is it like we should start planning to replace those, or we should, how bad are they?
I mean, we did try to replace them and go through a cycle of replacing them several years ago.
The doors themselves, you mean?
Yeah, the doors themselves to get the chain and pulley out with an electric door. I don't know if we put that back on the take those plans off the shelf and dust them off and go after grant money. Part of the reason they didn't get done the last time is when we did bid it out, it was like $50,000 a door to replace.
That's a lot of
hanger. Yeah, that's a $500,000 for that hanger to do 10 doors.
Structurally, how is the hanger?
Structurally itself, like the hanger itself is fine.
Okay.
Outside of a few, skin rashes that we tend to do in the wintertime.
What's the lifetime of the building?
Till it falls over. I mean, it's a 70-year-old building now.
So how hard would it be to get those people that we have problems with them being in their hangars to move to this?
I mean, that could be something we do at our lease changeover, especially with our couple of hangar queens that are kind of in compliance, depending on how much you guys wanted to push on that. That could be the alternative
I mean, that sounds like a solution.
we want to put you in these hangars that are kind of less
appealing.
I like that solution for one very, I feel, good reason, which is that if we kick them out of their existing hangar, it's either someone's gonna have to either pay to remove it, or it's gonna end up on the ramp and it's just gonna sit there.
Yes.
So I'd rather have it in a hangar, especially one that we can't seem to lease, than any of the alternatives. But I would like to try to find. It's a worrying trend, right? I mean,
Yeah. Oh, and I am still actively calling people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like, it takes a while to like, I mean, it takes a couple of weeks to call somebody, get them out to look at
Yeah.
hangars, give them time to, do you want it or not? Then follow up, then you go to the next person on the lease if they don't take it. So it is a process to rent a hangar. It's not like we turn around and in 3 days I can call 3 people.
Yeah.
We still have a large waiting.
We still do have a large waiting list. We have some folks that are actively waiting with airplanes, which, I would love to get them up into a hangar because they are active people. They have airplanes. So I think, if we do, as these leases turn over in the fall, move.
But why do you have to live person by person and wait in the process?
You want to give them a chance to say no.
Because they're.
But then if you tell them that they're, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because
People
I mean,
wait-
like, if you
wait
do
on-
30 at the same time, then you let them know that there's 2 other people that are also.
Are there more people in A currently who are on the list to go, like trying to transfer out of A in addition to the ones that are empty right now? Nobody else is like,
The ones in A, I think are okay being in A.
okay.
Bob's should have been no problem. Bob's the one who's out there all the time. On the end.
Aside from maybe Sam, but Sam's good.
Oh, yeah, Sam.
Sam's at 5 now,
Yeah.
so.
She's okay. Yep.
I think now that he's got the bigger space.
Mhm. I'm just curious. One thing else, I didn't know if it was a sign of things to come, but and Jenny would have an interest potentially in sublease if really nobody takes it and putting it. But the problem is if we put a trainer in there, then we start opening and closing those doors every day, then they really will start to have problems eventually, and our line guys will get buff. But
I mean, obviously kind of talking about this now. gives us time to-
I had to.
It's true.
Yeah, if push comes to shove and you guys want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd let's go through the list, but
Yeah.
and potentially I think it's a great idea to try to shift planes that aren't moving to a place, to something like that.
That's
And then there's
that don't move.
yeah.
Aren't you also talking about needing some storage space or something?
We get on the naughty list if
Well-
we're doing too much of that.
Yeah, so. Because we are a federally obligated airport, we still have grant assurances about how hangar spaces are used. We can't put, we can't use it for car storage or it's not, essentially not.
You didn't know that.
You let me keep my snow tires there.
Yeah, I mean, generally, like, the way the system works now, if you have an airplane in there, you were using the airport's purpose, and if you can take advantage of the other space you have with other stuff, so be it.
They're on the counter.
Oh, great, I appreciate it. So that's kind of how the FAA processes that grant insurances. Primary use is it for aircraft, as long as you've got the aircraft in there, and it's not blocked by other stuff you have. That's kind of the
Okay.
access.
The other thing I would say is if we move these hangar queens to A, that can't be open-ended, right? I mean, maybe give them another year. But-
Yeah, I get your point.
Yeah. Because
We're just gonna be doing this again next year.
right,
Are they still paying anyway?
they would have to pay.
Oh, yeah, they pay now.
They're
They still
paying now.
are.
It's just we're not getting the gas.
Well,
It's not being used as a flight.
Yeah, that for me, it's not something I can point to as like you're violating. Well, now they are, but before something just rubs me the wrong way about an aircraft that can't fly being in a hangar and taken away from somebody who
else
would
who wants
otherwise use it.
Okay,
Yeah, it just kind of feels icky. I don't know.
You're right.
makes sense.
Sorry to
No, you're good.
blow that.
Other than that, the city council is on schedule to approve the budget
at their meeting on the, I think it's 21st. Yeah. Yes. So that'll approve the fiscal budget. As part of that budget, we do have $50,000 in there for carpets and chairs.
Awesome.
That was supposed to be next year, but through some stuff, they flip-flopped a couple of things for us. And so once that happens, we can start talking about replacing carpet, chairs. And Matt has done a good job of bringing in some other stuff that has already replaced a few things and
downstairs too.
Yeah.
Time for us to do.
Generally, the project would be conference room and carpets, basically everything that's carpet within the terminal building, and the great furniture that we taught.
Did we have enough for the bathroom flooring?
And yeah, in the bathroom,
What should we get?
the women's bathroom is still in only.
The women's bathroom still in the men's went through. It's ready for its second change.
Yeah.
That'll be so great. I mean, it is time for new furniture.
Yeah, so that's
So furniture, carpet up here and down, like across the board, carpet and furniture.
Yeah.
And flooring.
and flooring and bathrooms. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's great.
So that is budget.
So that's like May, you think, to have the money in hand to go do that.
I mean, probably the first part of May for them to put it into the computer and
Cool.
say,
We'll wait to wait for fiscal to do it.
no,
Oh, it's like they appropriated funds this current fiscal.
this current fiscal year.
Oh, so this is a mid-budget cycle. Surprise. I like.
We couldn't do it early because they hadn't approved the budget.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Sweet.
because it was in next year, we have to make sure they approve the budget so that it is effective for this fiscal year.
Okay. Sweet. What are we expecting for impact to airport business while we can stagger it? Try to
we can
limit
stagger
impact.
it. It'll take some effort.
It'll take
to
some
clean up
effort, yeah.
offices and move stuff around, but yeah, we'll figure it
Well,
out
I'm
as part of it.
hoping to probably do. It's not terrible. Well, hoping to do some paint downstairs. I would think before we put brand new floor down.
Even up here, this is.
Even up here, there's. So I'm looking around. There's definitely some. But this is really tall ceilings, though. But I mean, we could do that. Or find
Bring some
somebody.
scaffolding.
We might have to put some scaffolding or something.
Paint on the old carpet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It'd be good to do.
Go through class needed.
But could paint might come? Paint could be part of that too, right?
Probably.
The money
I mean,
from,
we-
because it's the same.
With 50, I think the last time we did this, it was like
Like all the-
15 grand for the flooring and like 15 grand for furniture.
Yeah.
I'm expecting
Right.
like 20 for like a 20 and 15 split now because we're not doing all of the flooring. It's just
The carpet and the bathrooms and stuff. So
the last time we did it, it was also all of that wood paneling that's downstairs. Or that fake wood.
we should be in good shape to do that.
So yeah, I think we'd be okay with paint. Some others are just miscellaneous.
Okay.
Sweet.
Maybe that,
That's
yeah,
good.
help them do this.
Other than that,
Do the paint.
this is April, so May, June, we got 2 months of fiscal year budget left. Don't mind.
Sure. Now you got me in cooking.
Management, the only thing with the management, the annual report was in the packet. You guys were able to take a look at it. If there's any edits anybody had, let me know. Otherwise, we can finalize it, send it up to city council, and then somebody can go say hi and give a quick summary.
I need to do a motion for you to do finally
If you want.
If we want, if we don't have to, we don't have to.
I mean, I can be okay with consensus.
Okay,
If
yeah.
everybody's okay.
Any okay to me.
Usually have consent.
Yes.
And events,
Before we move on, when are you thinking for City Hall?
I'd have to talk to the city manager's office to figure out when a just kind of a light agenda is.
Yeah.
But probably sometime in May.
Okay. I could do it again.
Get it before the summer.
If anyone's got like, I don't like talking in front of people. I'm happy to do it. It's not a problem.
I can print too.
Yeah, outside of that, I think the events calendar is now all filled out. The one thing that's gonna be different this year is our Young Eagles event is going to be in October. That was kind of a product of the dates they offered to us in terms of like, they gave us a calendar and they had already filled out a couple of dates that, because of airports that they like put priorities on to make sure they got to. But other than that, I think October will be fine because we're gonna hopefully avoid the heat. And that's been a problem with some of the juniors is you start getting at 11 o'clock, you get overheated in those airplanes real fast. And it gets to be miserable. And then anybody that's hanging around gets miserable because of kids.
Should be before.
And then it should be before snow and we can advertise this also as pancake breakfast. And there's a couple of you guys involved with the Young Eagles event. And I'm hoping they open it up a little bit more to what it's been the last couple of years so that we can actually have kids riding. Not quite the showing that we had the last few. So that's all I got.
And Mr. Matt.
That'll be very brief. Yeah, nothing really to report on. Maintenance. Obviously, snow is over, and we're getting our mower sent in to get taken care of, and hopefully get it up and going. Because this time, well, it was over there, but it's already started mowing, so we're probably already behind. Transitioning that from that standpoint, from Jet Air's standpoint, is say if something happens out front, we're happy to help, and once we know a direction, contribute, or do whatever we need to do. From that standpoint, activity otherwise has been really strong despite higher fuel prices and things. Our costs have gone. We have a fuel supplier who Titan is who we're contracted with, and they get fuel from different places, and so we have the option to pull out of the terminal here in Iowa City or one in Chicago. Then we get a pricing notification every Tuesday, and so we can try to, and they give us an indication around Thursday, is it going up or down for the next week. So we try to do our best to try to get fuel when we can. So didn't look at 100 loaded, but jet fuel is up $1.50 since before everything started. So since the end of April or end of February, out of the Iowa City terminal at the moment, but out of the Chicago terminal is up $2.50 a gallon. So it gives you a big, it's great that you're able to pull from other terminals and do different things and try to. So we've kept our prices as low as we can with that in mind. But we go places that are $9.50 a gallon, jet fuel and stuff like that. So you just don't know what you're gonna.
You hate Signature just like we do.
Exactly. Yeah. We're a great customer for them. But anyway, so doing the best we can, and I think. Hopefully it starts to trend back down, but it does change. Oil is down today, and they said that the Iowa City terminal hasn't caught up with their pricing yet, so Iowa City's still going up for next week. The other one's coming back down. Well, yeah, we've got a long ways to go.
Because the oil they bought to refine is 2-week old or whatever. It's probably the right
different spot.
Yeah,
it's a different spot. So.
Are we gonna need to raise the price of the trainers, the rental price?
We haven't, and we're holding out. I don't know if we've taken. We did have to take one load, higher price under low lead. We're usually pretty slow to adjust our prices on under low lead if we can help it. But once you do, then you're stuck with 8,000 gallons for a long time.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
So you have to be really careful, to do that. But
yes, seems like I've been hearing more jets. Is something going on that I'm hearing more jets, or?
Well, the activity's been up lately for whatever reason, and I wish it was still here when everybody was here, but it was
the big one that was out there.
Yeah, the one that was right out the door, that was an Oregon donor flight. So that loaded up with, I think it was a Heart team that left to go do that. And so that's always good. You always want people to show up when it's stuff like that that's going on. That nobody can argue with this. This is here for a good reason, So activity, I would say, was up. Obviously, we had the Hawkeyes did the elite or the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and so we ended up with a bunch of extra trips back and forth for that kind of stuff. But in general, it's just for whatever reason, there's this time of year, you have a lot of construction projects, and so companies come in and out for that kind of stuff, and I mean, just lots of moving pieces. Something help you with, Jack?
I was just looking for the vacuum.
It's in the utility, it's in the cleaning closet.
Oh, okay, thank you.
But yeah, so stuff kind of comes and goes, and it's really hard to put your finger on why though.
I've had some neighbors asking what's going on. And
Yeah.
So
OPL's been pretty busy too.
OPL been very busy, and they're noisy airplanes.
There, yeah.
okay.
It also seems like lately we've had a fair bit of northwest wind, so runway 1-2 to take off, which
Okay.
takes you over that part of town
That's
much more often than usual.
okay.
Just the season, but seems like lately that's been a big thing.
Yeah.
And strong winds too. So
Yeah.
And the new pavement on it gives it a little bit longer takeoff distance.
yeah, so some people may use.
Some more folks. Yeah, or your charter fleet able to use 1-2 for takeoff?
They can, and we don't much. Yeah, we don't much. The guys tend to prefer another one because it's
Wider.
clear and open wider, and I mean if it doesn't make any difference, they won't. But you'll get people who aren't as familiar with the airport who look at it and say, "Oh, okay, what's that?" You know,
Look at the hill.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So
Just kind of beer left.
yeah. So, any questions for me?
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming and.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about the furniture. This is stuff we bought from a different operator brought in, but we're excited about the rest of it.
Yep.
So that'd be great.
You want some more cookies?
No, I already had two.
Make some when you're ready.
Yeah.
Any commission members reports?
I have a comment question, or you wanna phrase it about what the first item of the agenda was, because we didn't have an option to discuss or talk about what.
So can we go, if it was on the agenda, but we're not in that agenda item, can we talk about it or is that?
No, you can't
That's
go
what
to it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So,
what I was just
yeah.
wondering, if I could.
I sent, well, yeah. Can we talk about whether or not to include it on the next agenda?
No, it's fine, I can
Okay.
ask my
Okay.
question,
Okay.
that's fine. I can just.
See what
Okay.
you're back.
Anybody else with commission members reports? Thank you all. Appreciate it. Everybody did amazing. So thank you. Staff report.
Next week is the aviation conference in Dubuque, so I will be at that for most of the week, and then Friday I will be off as I accompany mom to her checkup appointments. So basically, I'll be in the office on Monday and out the rest of the week.
Next meeting will be Thursday, May 14th, which
I'll be
I
here.
should be here.
You should be here too.
Thanks. And I made a motion, we adjourn. Guess I don't want to
I'll
look at
second.
you.
So real quick.
Oh, sorry.
No, real quick. As far as the subcommittee goes for the jet, we talked about that in the section. Should we talk to you and we'll figure out next steps before the next meeting?
That's fine.
Okay. You said the 14. School.
I will be there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna motion, you seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.